This man is really too lucky. Since he was 6 years old, he has had a childhood sweetheart with a bit of a Yandra trait. As long as he lets his guard down, he will definitely be sneak attacked by the other party. There's a high chance he'll be forcefully kissed until he's out of breath. Besides that, Naoko also has a younger sister with an extremely strong possessiveness. She always finds various reasons to restrict Naoko's contact with other women. Naoko's parents have always been engaged in high-risk occupations. They went to the New World as early as 2.5 years ago. Nowadays, Naoko and his younger sister depend on each other for survival. A month ago, they moved to their aunt's house in the suburbs of Tokyo. Because he dotes on his younger sister excessively. As long as his sister says not to participate in club activities, he will cut off social interactions and go straight home after school. This has also led to Naoko being known throughout the school as a sister-obsessed maniac. However, his good buddy can understand the deep bond between the siblings. At this moment, the female classmate Naoko has a crush on comes to find him. And takes the initiative to invite Naoko to attend the club meeting together. Not surprisingly, in order to keep his promise with his sister, he has to refuse. The understanding Murasaki says she can comprehend this. She will bring him the meeting content when she goes home. Shiro, who is already 10 years old, still asks Naoko to help her change clothes and comb her hair. Because there are only the two of them left at home. Naoko has no choice but to continue indulging her. Although his aunt looks like a minor, she is actually a 28-year-old wealthy lowly. Soon it's time to leave school, but Naoko is stopped by a woman. Naoko doesn't pay attention to her. But the woman keeps following behind him, calling his name. Unable to bear it any longer, Naoko speaks up. It turns out that Naoko and Sayuki met 6 years ago. At that time, he was still living in the countryside. Sayuki would come to play with him every day. Their relationship quickly heated up. And it was even more than what could be called a first love. But one day, the garden that Naoko took care of was inexplicably destroyed by Sayuki. On the same day, she also disappeared without a trace. Even after 6 years, Naoko has not forgiven her. So when Sayuki wants to explain, he unhesitatingly chooses to run away. On the way, he sees Shiro and directly picks her up, while Sayuki chases after them relentlessly. When they get home, Shiro says she wants a garden as a birthday present. Naoko is immediately speechless. After all, that's not something that can be done casually. Coincidentally, his aunt hears their conversation. So she hands over the yard at home to Naoko. But the yard is overgrown with weeds. Just as Naoko is thinking about where to start, Sayuki suddenly appears holding a hoe. At the same time, Murasaki arrives nearby with her notes. And when Naoko sees Sayuki approaching with the hoe, he directly tells her to get out. Although he doesn't know what made her unhappy, he doesn't want to have any connection with her now. After realizing that Naoko might have misunderstood something, Sayuki directly kisses Naoko forcefully. By coincidence, this scene is seen by Murasaki and Naoko's aunt. And Sayuki is completely immersed in her own world, unscrupulously engaging in a deeper level of interaction. Naoko, who can't stand such a stimulation, faints directly. When he wakes up again, Naoko is lying on the bed. His aunt immediately comes over to warn him, saying that he is not allowed to be intimate in the yard in the future. Otherwise she will make him pack up and leave. As for Shiro, she is obviously a bit angry. She Ly says that she can build the garden by herself. And it's none of her business who Naoko is with. This makes Naoko think that she has forgotten the memories of Sayuki from their childhood. When he gets to school, Sayuki asks Naoko to go to the rooftop. She wants to return the hoe she took 6 years ago to Naoko. And also wants to apologize for destroying the garden. But she can't tell the reason why she did that. However, as long as she can be forgiven, she is willing to do anything for Naoko. This scares Naoko so much that he turns his head away. He quickly changes the subject, asking Sayuki why she kissed him. But after saying that, he realizes something is wrong. Sayuki says it's fine if he doesn't understand. This makes Naoko feel even more like the bad guy. Naoko was already a bit confused. And when he meets Murasaki in the corridor, she deliberately ignores him. Now he is really in a bad mood. And can't help but blame all the mistakes on Sayuki. So when he sees Sayuki with Shiro on his way home, and Shiro has a wound on her leg, he thinks it must be Sayuki's fault. He puts on a stance that he will fight if she doesn't let go of Shiro. Seeing this, Shiro quickly runs over to explain. It turns out that Shiro fell down just now, and Sayuki helped her up. Moreover, she is now willing to let Sayuki help with the garden. Although she doesn't like Naoko contacting other girls, she actually remembers that Sayuki used to go to their house to play when they were young. Since Shiro said so, Naoko has no choice but to accept it. And on the way the three of them are walking together. They meet Murasaki, who wants to discuss something with Naoko. The next day, the two come to the mall. It turns out that the club needs to buy flower bed tools. And since the others don't have time, Murasaki comes to Naoko. On the surface, that's the case, but in fact, she also wants to know if Naoko is dating Sayuki. Just because she often sees them together. Upon hearing this, Naoko immediately denies it, hurriedly explaining that he and Sayuki only knew each other since childhood. But Naoko is instantly attracted by her cute appearance, and becomes tongue-tied for a moment. When Naoko returns home in the afternoon, he is surprised to find that Sayuki has cleaned up all the weeds in the yard. He didn't expect her to be really helping seriously. But unexpectedly, the next second Sayuki wants to take off her clothes, saying that she is too sweaty and wants to cool down. Naoko naturally can't agree. After all, he was warned by his aunt once before. But as expected, what he was afraid of happened. His aunt just happens to see them falling while pulling each other. Her face turns dark immediately, and she tells Naoko to get out.